This is Legendary Hound of Xoriat on Legendary Normal. So this is another three-person raid. There's also two dual boxes in here. One of the dual boxes is actually going to do something in this raid, and that's Cronavir's Bard. Um, his Bard is mostly a buffer, but he also is kind of partially spec'd for this raid. He's got some bonuses that help summons and hirelings, and so the way this raid works is that the boss, who you see there, the big dog in the middle, uh, can't be damaged until he's down a certain percentage by players. Only his puppies can, or her puppies could damage her. So we have to charm those puppies and get the puppies to damage her. And then some of the buffs that the Bard has, which includes from Epic Destinies, there's a twist that anybody could take in Primal Avatar, um, which gives them a PRR bonus and hit points. And on top of that, there's some other augment summoning and things like that that can be taken. So I'm going to go in the middle and tank ZZ, the boss. I'm not really a tank, but it just makes sense for me to be the tank. Shiley and Cronavir are going to circle around and get the stones to charm the dogs, and then we're just going to give those stones to Yibi to actually do the charming. And the reason is he has a lot of buffs and bard buffs that he can give to the dogs to make them stronger. And the hope is that we could do that with just what's called a one rounder, which is just one set of stones. And normally we do this every so often. The dogs aren't fully damaging ZZ, and it takes us a while to realize it, so we have to reposition. And if that happens, it's usually not a first rounder. And so that'll be my job to keep an eye on that and kind of reposition if the dogs aren't damaging ZZ enough. All right, so we're all buffed, and Shiley and Cronavir are going to take off and get the stones. And I'm going to run to the middle and get aggro.
A terrible roar echoes through the shrieks, and a gigantic Thaharak hound stands before you, its hide. It's unspeakable.
So normally on the map, one side's a little longer than the others, and it's actually this side here. And so I'm usually like to be just a little bit off the center on this side, and that's so that when some of the enemies spawn, I'm too far away, they don't see me. And I'm not really a tank build. What I probably ought to do is I probably ought to get a shield and longsword for these type of situations. You know, as a paladin, sometimes there's just not a tank in the party, and so whoever can do it does it. And I don't have a good enough intimidate or anything, but as you can see, you just get their aggro, and as long as nobody else steals it, you don't need the intimidate. You only need the intimidate if somebody in the party steals the aggro. Then you need that intimidate, or you need to be able to, or the threat to be able to get the aggro back. And so this gets a lot easier once the dogs are charmed. And here comes Yibi. He's going to charm the dogs. Let me try to... So there's one. He's going to be very careful about charming them, because if you get disrupted, then... Alright, so now ZZ's on the dogs. That's good. I don't need to really tank. I'll be here just in case. And so, looking at her hit points, it's going down a good amount. And so now Yibi's just going to buff. I don't really have any buffs to give. And you can see the timer on the dogs. about 2 minutes 22 seconds, so probably 2:15 for the dog that was first. And eventually beholders are going to spawn. And so that's what Shiley's kind of doing, is just killing things, making sure stuff stays out of the center. All right, so this is the first warning. So ZZ's down. When we get the second message, then ZZ will be vulnerable. And always keep an eye, and if it looks like the dog is not going down, then it could be that it's a positioning issue. But I think we're in good shape here for this. It's an easy raid, and I'm a big fan of doing these with 3 people. Okay, we want to get the dogs off this guy. All right, that's bad news. All right. Looking pretty good. If we just keep stuff off of the dogs, then they'll do their job, and he's almost down now, so really no issues with this raid. All right, so now we can just beat up ZZ, and once you get that second message, ZZ's vulnerable. And that's it. So very simple raid to do with 3 people, 6 minutes 29 seconds. And I'm a big fan of doing these 3-person raids with your friends, because you learn them better. You get to do all the roles, and you don't have to you don't have to like a lot of times if you join a raid, you won't get a role. At least that's my experience. And so I enjoy doing this because you really get to learn the raid and have fun with your friends. So for me, it's a lot of fun. And I didn't get a named item, but there are some nice ones in here, and including some armor I'd love to get. But eventually it'll drop for me, and eventually some. I mean, eventually I may not even want it, but for now it probably better than the armor I have. And that is Legendary Hound of Xoriat with 3 people on Legendary Normal.